Bridezilla still insisted on me purchasing her $3,500 wedding dress and relentlessly mocked me on her significant day. Seeking revenge, I, a 27-year-old woman, found myself serving as the maid of honor for my sister-in-law, Christina, aged 25. My marriage to her brother, Martin, aged 28, had reached its one-year mark, and while the rest of Martin's family had embraced me, Christina remained an exception. Despite my initial attempts at kindness, Christina's uptight and mean demeanor resembled the mean girls from my high school and college days. Recognizing the futility of befriending her, I ceased efforts, and we settled into a pattern of mutual ignorance. Martin, concerned about our strained relationship, attempted to foster friendship, but Christina's lack of reciprocity led him to abandon the endeavor. The rest of the family, uninterested in forcing a connection between us, left us to our own devices. Given our history, I was surprised when Christina asked me to be her maid of honor a couple of months ago. Initially unenthusiastic about the idea, I expressed my need for time to consider before ultimately planning to decline. Christina and I barely knew each other, and she had made her dislike for me abundantly clear. Moreover, the role of maid of honor felt like a substantial commitment I wasn't prepared to undertake for someone like Christina. Despite my inclination to decline, I consulted Martin before making a final decision. He suggested that being Christina's maid of honor could be an opportunity for us to spend time together and possibly improve our relationship. Skeptical but swayed by Martin's reasoning, I reluctantly agreed, believing that Christina's invitation might signal a tentative gesture of friendship. The decision, however, came after extensive deliberation. I took a chance and agreed to be her maid of honor, only to regret it within a few weeks. Initially, she displayed a surprisingly pleasant demeanor, a welcome departure from her usual cold and gloomy behavior towards me. We had a great time planning and going out for brunch together. However, the situation took a turn when she asked me to purchase her wedding dress. A stunning but pricey $3,500 gown. Despite her mother's generous offer to let her wear a beautiful wedding dress from her own nuptials, altered to fit her perfectly, my sister-in-law insisted on the expensive dress that exceeded her budget. She explained that her current salary couldn't cover the cost, but she was determined to have that specific dress. Desperate, she appealed to me for financial assistance, knowing that my income surpassed hers. She couldn't turn to her parents or her fiancé, who both had valid reasons for not funding the extravagant purchase. Since I was her maid of honor and perceived as the designated rich relative, she felt it easier to approach me. As an investment banker, my income indeed exceeded most of her family members, but the reality remained that we weren't blood relatives. Feeling cornered, I tried to offer excuses, but her insistence wore me down. Reluctantly, I agreed to buy the dress on the condition that she reimbursed me in full afterward. Thankfully, I had the entire conversation recorded in text messages, where she acknowledged her commitment to repay the full amount. Now, armed with this information, I could use it against her. I had purchased the dress, and she was ecstatic. Her kindness towards me surpassed even her treatment of the other bridesmaids, who were her close friends. It felt rewarding for a couple of months until the wedding day when she reverted to her old self in a particularly hurtful manner. On the day of the ceremony, she not only resumed her cold behavior but took it a step further by openly mocking and humiliating me in front of her friends and other guests. While the ceremony went smoothly due to minimal interaction, she began distancing herself from me early in the morning of her wedding. During the event, she reluctantly included me in socializing, but used the opportunity to make mean-spirited jokes at my expense, making both the guests and me uncomfortable. Her cruelty knew no bounds as she ridiculed everything from my appearance to my personality, targeting my weight, nose, social anxiety, and even my perfectionism. The unwarranted and senseless nature of her actions baffled me, especially considering the positive rapport we had established leading up to her wedding. I had almost believed we were friends. Unable to endure the humiliation any longer, I confronted her privately, questioning the sudden change in her behavior. She dismissed my concerns, claiming I was being oversensitive and insisting that she wasn't making fun of me. It was merely her sense of humor. Frustrated, I expressed my discomfort with her so-called humor, but she brushed it off, suggesting that if I couldn't handle it, I shouldn't be friends with her. Left standing in shock at her callousness, I eventually lost my temper and did something perhaps ill-advised. Positioned not far from the stage and noticing the band still setting up, I seized the moment. Walking onto the stage, where the microphones were not yet in use, I delivered a speech, a decision I would come to regret. As all eyes turned toward me, I had everyone's attention. I began my impromptu speech by recounting how Christina had asked me to be her maid of honor a couple of months ago. My husband and I naively thought it could be an opportunity for us to finally bond with her. I highlighted Christina's initial coldness and my hope that this role could lead to a genuine friendship. However, I soon realized that Christina, despite the temporary warmth, remained impossible to befriend due to her unpleasant nature. Bringing up the incident where she begged me to buy her wedding dress, I expressed my suspicion that she only asked me to be her maid of honor to secure the dress. Given my higher income, she likely endured niceties for a few months to ensure she got the dress she desired. As I spoke, I noticed the power to the microphone had been cut, prompting me to shout my speech. Security started making their way through the crowd towards me. Taking advantage of the moment, I revealed the damning texts on my phone, labeling Christina as tacky, ungrateful, and, fittingly, badzilla. Without looking back, I left the venue, relishing in the satisfaction of hearing her cry. On the bus home, I checked my phone to find around 100 texts from my family, including confused messages from my parents who had witnessed the spectacle at the wedding. Martin, my husband, expressed his disbelief and the need for a serious conversation. He also mentioned that Christina had become inconsolable after my departure, causing a temporary halt to the proceedings. Upon reaching home, I ignored the influx of texts from irrelevant relatives seeking drama and gossip. Instead, I treated myself to a cocktail and ordered a burger, compensating for the missed enjoyment of the wedding feast. Opting for a laid-back afternoon, I settled in front of the television to unwind. I chose to remain unresponsive to calls and texts until the evening, feeling it wasn't necessary to engage with anyone in my agitated state. The swirl of emotions, insult, humiliation, and a sense of being used overwhelmed me. Despite acknowledging the erratic nature of my actions, I grappled with conflicting feelings and couldn't muster the courage to explain myself to anyone. The only individuals I believed deserved an explanation were my parents, Martin, and my in-laws, excluding Christina, who was well aware of the circumstances. Martin returned home around 9 o'clock, and the atmosphere remained tense. He entered without uttering a word, leaving me to anticipate a conversation after he freshened up. An hour passed with no sign of him approaching, prompting me to take the initiative and break the silence. Despite his stony demeanor and engrossment in his phone, I entered the bedroom where he lay. Drawing inspiration from my unfiltered approach at the wedding, I began explaining how Christina had insulted me throughout the morning. I recounted how I had given her an opportunity to apologize or reassure me that the mockery wouldn't continue for the sake of garnering laughs from her guests. Expressing my discomfort with the humiliation, I was met with Christina dismissing my concerns, stating that I was making a fuss over nothing. This response infuriated me, particularly since I had voluntarily bought her the dress, expecting at least a modicum of gratitude. Instead, she acted as if I were overreacting, fueling my anger. Unable to contain my frustration, I disclosed this information to her guests, essentially mirroring her behavior, albeit with the advantage of the microphone. Despite believing this explanation would suffice for Martin, he remained silent, continuing to ignore me. Once again, I lost my composure and insisted that Martin talk to me. Finally meeting my gaze, he acknowledged my feelings of humiliation but firmly asserted that it didn't justify ruining Christina's wedding day. He emphasized the broader impact on his family's reputation and urged me to consider the consequences of my impulsive actions. According to him, my behavior was unacceptable, and my reaction, regardless of Christina's actions, was deemed worse. Martin contended that I had better alternatives to address the situation but had chosen an unhinged path for petty revenge. He explained that until I apologized, especially to Christina and his family, he couldn't engage with me in the same way. Despite finding it ludicrous, he expected me to apologize to Christina, placing the blame on her for initiating the conflict. This led to a heated argument where I declared my refusal to apologize to anyone except Martin and his parents, insisting that Christina was the one at fault. The impasse has persisted for a couple of days, leaving us in a state of silence. Reflecting on the situation, I grapple with the possibility that I may not be entirely in the right. While I adamantly refuse to apologize to Christina, I'm starting to acknowledge Martin's point about handling things more reasonably in my anger. It's a conflicting and confusing situation, and I'm uncertain about how to navigate the aftermath of delivering a harsh speech at my sister-in-law's wedding and making her cry. Update 1. Some of you have inquired about whether Christina reached out to me post the wedding debacle. To clarify, no, she hasn't, and neither have my in-laws. I want to make it clear that I don't understand why Christina dislikes me. Contrary to popular belief, we hadn't met before I started dating Martin, so there's no history that could explain her intense dislike. I'd like to emphasize that I wish nobody judges Martin and my in-laws solely based on this incident. They are genuinely wonderful people who have always treated me well. Despite the current rough patch, they've been loving, especially Martin, who is standing up for his family. I haven't decided whether his actions are right or wrong, but he's not being cruel or harsh. This disagreement won't break us, so please refrain from suggesting divorce. Thank you. Update 2. It's been a challenging week since the wedding. Martin and I didn't speak for the entire week, but today I decided it was time to address the situation. Acknowledging my mistake, I apologized to Martin during dinner for my behavior at the wedding, recognizing the significance of the family event I disrupted. I expressed my intention to talk to his parents and make amends, understanding they didn't deserve the fallout. However, I reiterated that I wouldn't apologize to Christina due to her unpleasant demeanor. Martin was silent for a moment but reassured me that I didn't need to apologize to her. He was just upset the other day. He acknowledged the unfairness in his previous stance, expressing it with a sense of exhaustion. Martin opened up about the challenging time he had faced, dealing with backlash from almost everyone in the family. Despite being the person he wanted to confide in, I wasn't available, making it a miserable week for him too. He shared that his parents were furious with me, cautioning against an immediate apology to them due to their current anger. He vented his frustration about uncles, aunts, and other relatives who, for no apparent reason, had been commenting on me derogatorily in the family group text. Martin revealed he had distanced himself from the group, but his parents continued to send those hurtful texts, emphasizing the family's negative sentiment towards me. Surprisingly, he advised me against apologizing to Christina, recognizing that her actions had provoked my response. Despite my willingness to apologize to the family, he asserted that I owed no one an apology. According to Martin, these people were selfish, and the incident had revealed their self-centered nature. He disclosed his futile attempts to reason with his parents and family members, asserting Christina's role in instigating the situation. However, they refused to listen, dismissing my perspective and labeling me a psycho. Martin knew that any apology from me would only lead to further humiliation, and he was determined not to let that happen. While still maintaining that my actions were not okay, he stood by the belief that Christina was not as innocent as portrayed. He advised against apologizing to anyone, emphasizing that I shouldn't apologize to his parents even for the sake of my conscience. I decided it would be more effective to address the situation when they were more receptive and open to it. If I approached them now, it would likely be futile. In a way, it turned out well for both of us. While not perfect or ideal, at least I was able to relieve my conscience with Martin. Ultimately, what matters most to me is my husband's opinion of me. Everyone else can go to hell. Update 3. Hey everyone! I know many of you have been seeking an update, but honestly, not much has changed since the last one. After Martin and I reconciled, I stopped worrying about his family's opinion of me. Martin received a promotion at work, so we decided to take a vacation to de-stress. Regarding my own parents, I explained the situation, and they were okay with it. They're just happy that Martin and I are getting along. Christina and her parents haven't reached out, and I believe it's for the best. My in-laws chose their daughter's side, and I respect their personal choice without holding it against them. Update 4. It's been a month since my last update, and today, I received a refund from Christina. It was surprising because I had almost forgotten about her and the wedding debacle. She texted me revealing the real reason behind her dislike. It turned out to be as trivial as I expected. Her friend had a crush on Martin, and when he introduced me to the family, her friend got heartbroken. Christina blamed me for it. I don't see how any of this is my fault, but Christina needed a reason to dislike me, and she picked that. Now that I know the reason, which seems quite silly, I'd rather not have known it all. I shared this revelation with Martin, who mentioned he always had a hunch, but never saw her friend as anything more than his little sister's best friend. Even if I hadn't been in the picture, they wouldn't have gotten together. Anyway, it's over now, and I don't have to talk to Christina ever again.